Today, I realize a childhood dream, driving a NASCAR stock car on a NASCAR track. In this video, I'll review the NASCAR Racing Experience and let you know just what it's like to be in the driver's seat of these 600 horsepower machines. Welcome to Retro Cars Forever. My name is Brad, and as someone who loves American cars and the roar of V8 engines, it's not surprising that I'm also a fan of NASCAR. I got into the sport during the 90s, when my heroes Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt duked it out on tracks across America, such as this race I attended at Michigan in 1998, which was won by Jeff Gordon and his rad rainbow-colored Monte Carlo. Back then, I was such a NASCAR fan, I even painted Earnhardt's car on my grandpa's barn. Still one of my proudest life achievements. I've always dreamed of driving a NASCAR stock car. My dream finally came true thanks to the NASCAR Racing Experience. This experience is held at 16 different tracks around the country. Shell out a few $100 or so and you can ride, or better yet drive, a NASCAR stalker. So my friends and I headed to Auto Club Speedway. Currently, it's a 2-mile oval located outside Los Angeles. But in 2024, this speedway will be transformed into a much smaller half-mile short track shown here in blue. So we wanted to experience the full-size, high-speed open banking shown here in gray before it got changed. I had a reservation for 8 minutes of driving time as well as a 3-lap ride-along afterwards. Here's how it went. Going in, we had no idea what cars would be available or in what liveries. Of course, my eye immediately went to the Chevy with the Jeff Gordon throwback look, and I hoped I'd be assigned to drive it later on. First, we grabbed our racing licenses and were given our fire suits. Not super form-fitting for skinnier guys like yours truly, but they're surprisingly comfortable. Next, a training video went over the basics. A spotter and two-way radio would be assigned to each car. The spotter would be in control of the engine's Rev Limiter, which would be pushed higher and higher with each passing lap. More on the Rev Limiter later. These cars are all classic 4-speed manuals. Even though you only use the transmission to get up to speed, at which point you stick it in fourth and leave it there, the takeoff will be smoother if you know how to drive stick. Out near the pits, our instructor gave us some pointers regarding the racing line and when to lift for the turns. For this experience, passing is allowed as instructed by the spotter. Although this isn't really a race, a few cars were on track at any given time, going different speeds. A separate IndyCar Racing Experience was in play, as was the NASCAR ride-along experiences. At our track, these ride-along cars were all blue and white number 43s, and the professionals driving them would be going a lot faster than us amateurs. But I'll get to the ride-alongs later. Now it's time to put on our helmets and drive. Luck was on my side. I was assigned the Chevy with the Jeff Gordon paint scheme. As for getting in, remember, stock cars don't have doors, so the maneuver can be a challenge for some. But for me, getting in and out was weirdly one of the coolest things about the experience. Once I was strapped in, I did a quick radio check with my spotter. You won't be able to hear him in the video, but he was there to give me constant feedback for my performance and safety. Then it was time to start it up and time to race. Here's a quick montage of my drive. After I got used to the car, I pushed harder and harder, focusing on the correct line and not pushing the rev limiter too much. With each passing lap, my spotter gave me more and more of the rev range to play with. Even still, I wanted to go as fast as possible, and I bounced off the rev limiter a few times, which makes this kind of sound. The speeds got faster and faster, and after 8 minutes, it was time to head the pit lane for some post-race interviews. by the time I got comfortable with it and really was like not freaking out a little bit, it was like time to come in. I feel so good. I feel like a bucket list that I've had since I was a kid. Driving NASCAR is checked. I have a whole new respect for the NASCAR drivers that do this every week. That felt intense, just paying attention to just the line. I can't imagine what it's like to be racing out this with, 37 other drivers constantly nipping at your heels in front of you, worrying about the draft. Hey man, what do you think?
Intense, much more intense than I was expecting.
I know, right? And the turns, when you're looking at it from outside, the turns seem like these long, gentle, sweeping arcs. But then when you're actually in the car, the turn seems like, oh, it's like a real hairpin all of a sudden. It's really, really neat experience. So, how fast did we go? Turns out I was the fastest of our group at 136 miles per hour. While I'd like to think that was pure talent at play, the truth is I had more minutes behind the wheel than most of my other friends, and I was therefore given more revs to play with by the end of my run, so I was able to go faster. Honestly, this rev limiting is one of the few things I didn't love about the experience. Throughout our run, the engines were limited to around 5,000 RPM when they can easily rev well beyond 6,000. I get that rev limiting can help with safety and mechanical longevity, and I'm sure that most drivers will be perfectly happy with those engine speeds. But as someone who's familiar with performance driving, I found myself frequently hitting the rev limiter during my run. We were warned beforehand that if we did this too often, that the spotter could park us. So I was constantly checking the tach, which was distracting from the rest of the experience. I felt like another 1,000 or so revs and another 10 to 20 miles per hour would have easily been in reach without pushing the envelope. You can buy your way into a higher rev limit, but the only way you're guaranteed to get that is by purchasing more lap time, which can get considerably more expensive beyond the 5 to 8 minutes that my friends and I did. Even still, 136 miles per hour is fast enough to be my new personal speed record for a vehicle I've driven. But while my drive was done, my need for even more speed was about to be satiated with my ride-along experience, where a professional driver without the same rev limiter would take me quite a bit faster. Okay, so I just got done with the ride-along experience. It's a lot faster than the driving experience. You really feel it hitting you against the side of the car. And because you're not paying attention to the driving part of it or wrecking or anything, you can really be present, and it's awesome. All right, so would I recommend the NASCAR Racing Experience? For anyone even slightly interested in NASCAR, yes, absolutely. Despite my misgivings about the rev limiter, it's still the easiest way to get into a top-level stock car on the same tracks that the top NASCAR drivers compete on. Now, let's talk pricing. If you're tight on budget, I would select the ride-along. It's a fast, simple experience that's a relative bargain. Kids can get in on the fun too, as unlike the driving experience, the ride-along experience doesn't require a driver's license. Pricing is tough to pin down because there's almost always some sort of sale happening, but as of this recording, with fees, it's $153 for a 3-lap ride-along. If you want an onboard video like what my friend purchased here, that's an additional $100, and hey, it includes a hat. The track time driving experience costs more. 5 laps with all the fees is $330, and again, another $100 for that onboard video and hat combo. But if you're a NASCAR junkie with a need for speed like myself, it's worth it. Your inner child will thank you. So that's my experience. I want to thank my friends for joining me, and especially to Eric from Rev Match TV for bringing his fancy camera to film some awesome speed shots like these. He's got a slick YouTube channel that mostly focuses on new sports cars that I highly recommend. And of course, a big thank you for the NASCAR Racing Experience. Check out their website down below if you're interested. And thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more Retro Cars Forever racing to you real soon.